2139, 2140, 2141, 2142, 2143, 2144, 2145, 2146, 2147, 2148, 2149, 2150, 2151, 2152, 2153, 2154, 2155, 2156, 2157, 2158, 2159, 2160, 2161, 2162, 2163, 2164, 2165, 2166, 2167, 2168, 2169, 2170, 2171, 2172, 2173, 2174, 2175, 2176, 2177, 2178, 2179, 2180, 2181, 2182, 2183, 2184, 2185, 2186, 2187. Senator John Eno, Cross River North.
Mr. President, my name is John Owaneno, Cross River Central. May I move that the votes and proceedings of Thursday, 8 March 2018 be approved by the Senate? I so move.
Senator Gilbert Naji, Enugu East.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Gilbert Naji, representing the good people of Enugu East. Mr. President, I rise to second that the vote and proceedings of Thursday, 8 March 2018 be adopted. I so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the votes and proceedings of Thursday, 8th of March 2018 be hereby approved, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Votes and proceedings of Thursday, 8th March 2018 is hereby approved. Announcements. Letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senator A.B. Saraki, presidential decision to decline assent to the Electoral Amendment Bill 2018. Pursuant to Section 58(4) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I hereby convey to the Senate my decision on 3rd March 2018 to decline presidential assent to the Electoral Amendment Bill 2018 recently passed by the National Assembly. Some of my reasons for withholding assent to the bill include the following. A. The amendment to the sequence of the elections in Section 25 of the Principal Act may infringe upon the constitutionally guaranteed discretion of the Independent National Electoral Commission to organize, undertake, and supervise all elections provided in Section 15A of the 3rd Schedule to the Constitution. B. The amendment to Section 138 of the Principal Act to delete two crucial grounds upon which an election may be challenged by candidates unduly limits the rights of candidates in elections to a free and fair electoral review process. And C. The amendments to Section 152, subsection 3 to 5 of the Principal Act may raise constitutional issues over the competence of the National Assembly to legislate over local government elections. Please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Mahmoud Buhari. I wish to acknowledge the presence of staff and students of Nigerian Tulip International College, Abuja, staff and students of Early Life School, Abuja, staff and students of St. Mary and Alfred Schools, Abuja, staff and students of the New Hope International School, Kuje, Abuja, who are in the gallery to observe Senate proceedings. I wish you a fruitful observations of our proceedings. Please sit down. Distinguished colleagues, let me join all in congratulating distinguished Senator Jonah Jang. It's his birthday today. We wish him many happy more years in good health and good God's protection. Happy birthday, Senator Jang. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Sorry, petitions. Senator Rafi Ibrahim.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Rafi Ibrahim. I represent Kwara South. I have a petition from one of my constituents, Lieutenant Colonel Timothy Oladuntoye, retired, for wrongful compulsory retirement from the Nigeria Army. He pleaded with the Senate under your leadership to investigate this case and help him right the wrongs. So I so want to lay the petition.
Yeah, come and lay the petition. Petitions refer to ethics and privileges. Report back in 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Senator Rafiu.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, once again. I rise to rely on Order 42 and 52, matters of urgent public importance. I will read 42. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. I rise this morning, sir, on the issue pertaining to a very significant aspect of Nigerian economy, knowing from inception of the Senate that the Senate is pro-economy, pro-foreign direct investment, pro-foreign portfolio investment, pro the private sector. We are all aware that since January, because of the resolution of this House, of this Senate, that all confirmation, according to all acts of National Assembly pending with us, should be suspended forthwith.
Distinguished colleagues, as by our rules, I'll need the leave of this, my colleagues. Senator Rafi Ibrahim has come on order 42, which on this subject matter, so I need to leave. Those in favor say aye. Also take those against say nay. There is a bit. Carry on, Senator Rafi.
I rise to ask that the Senate do consider the possibility of us taking a very important aspect of the economy, which is the Monetary Policy Committee. Monetary Policy Committee is made up of 12 members. About 7 from the private sector, 5 inside the central bank. As at today, it's only 3 of them that are valid. Almost all other members, their tenure expired by December last year, and that culminates into the MPC meeting not being held in January, That was January 22nd and 23rd. And the next meeting is 19th to 20th of March, which is Monday, Tuesday next week. So I want to appeal to our colleagues. We have 3 requests regarding Central Bank. The board of the Central Bank, the deputy governors, 2 deputy governors who are also members of MPC, and MPC members who are majorly in the private sector, in various sectors of the economy that are members. MPC is a creation of the CBN Act, which is autonomous. It's not run by the board of Central Bank, but it's very, very important. Each meeting of every 2 months is important for the economy. As it is today, it's already affecting the foreign direct investment to Nigeria. Some foreign portfolio investment are already leaving, some that are supposed to come are not coming. So we just want to appeal that we take only the aspects affect the Monetary Policy Committee, which is the independent members and the 2 deputy governors that are members of MPC, so that the MPC can continue to sit to direct the affair of the financial sector, which is the heart of Nigeria economy. I so move.
Yes, Deputy Leader.
Well, Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, let me first of all commend the Chairman, Banking and Finance of this 8th Senate for bringing this matter before the Senate today. My happiness, sir, arises from the fact that this Senate has a commitment to cooperate fully with the federal government on everything that relates to the economy and good governance of this country. And for the 3 years I have stayed here with the privilege of being the Deputy Senate Leader, there was never a time that this Senate has failed or neglected to act in pursuance of that commitment. So in view of this, I think it's a very straightforward motion. I will only seize this opportunity to thank my distinguished colleagues for giving us that very, very rare cooperation in that line. And having thanked them enough, I think it's a very straightforward matter. And I'm thanking in advance and in arrears too for all the support that we have received. So being a very straightforward matter, sir, I urge that we take it and then put it on. Thank you very much, sir.
Senator, Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'd like to join in commending the move of this motion. Excellency, distinguished colleagues, a wise man is a man who has to change his mind if he has to. So I think it is important that we reconsider our stand in respect of our earlier resolution on confirmation and be able to probably make an exception in respect of the issue of MPC. Sometimes a man, first of all, the essence of marriage, or one of the essence of marriage, is to have children. So, and that's why, because of the importance of children in marriage, when a man and his wife is quarreling, they still have children. So, I believe that it is important that we make this exception so that our economy will not collapse and the international community will continue to have confidence in our economy. So I support this motion.
Distinguished colleagues, I think this is straightforward. Unless anybody has any objection, otherwise let me put the question. The prayer is for us to make a concession, for us to do this confirmation process for the 2 deputy governors and the members of the MPC. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, let me thank the Chairman of Banking for bringing that up. Let me also particularly again acknowledge and thank my colleagues for the statesmanship you continue to play. This has been a chamber that has always been for the issue of the economy, and for us to do all it takes to continue to ensure we see investment, ease of doing business, and give confidence. And that is what we're doing here. In as much as we continue to defend the institutions and the democracy and the constitution that we're all sworn by, it is time also we look at the priorities and understand what is important. So the Senate Committee, Chairman of Banking, please ensure that you complete that process so you can give the necessary support in this issue of MPC and the Deputy Governor, so that the Central Bank continue to play its own role in the economy. I thank you. Yes, Leader of the Senate.
I like to proceed under Order 43 of our rules, sir. And with the permission of my colleagues, can I deem the provision of Order 43 as having been read?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, sir, it is in the culture and tradition of the institution of the Senate to always join our colleagues when they mark any milestone in their life. Mr. President, I'm sure I'm not taking you by surprise. You should have been aware of the fact that our brother and friend, distinguished Senator and Deputy Senate President Ike Okoremadu, the Iko Hawan, and the member of Hausa people, Turumburu, has been conferred with professorship from the Southern University of Louisiana. And the professorship, sir, is on good governance and strategic government study with senior mentoring fellow of that very prestigious university. And I felt that the leader of the Senate should bring this to the attention of my colleagues so that we can rejoice with our brother and friend on this very, very important milestone in his life. And while he continues along that line, I urge my colleague to continue to pray for him and congratulate him on that behalf. Thank you, sir.
You came under order 43, so in line with the rules cannot be any debate, but I think there's nothing for us to really debate and to congratulate our Deputy Senate President, who has now been elevated to another level that we can only commend you and continue to appreciate your contribution, both intellectually, academically, and also to development of, and have always been a reservoir for us in this chamber when we need to find out how things was done, now done, and will be done. Congrats, I wish you all the very best. Yes, Leader of the Senate.
President and my distinguished colleague, may I begin the day by introducing the first business of the day, which is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Sabo Mohammed on the Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act, Cap 117, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Amendment Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act, Cap I-17, LFN 2004, Amendment Bill 2018, SB 638, first reading.
Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act, Cap 117, LFN 2004, Amendment Bill 2018, SB 638, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, the second business of the day is the presentation of the bill standing in the name of the distinguished Senator Ali Lume on the Federal Polytechnic Marama Borno State Establishment EDC Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Order! Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Polytechnic, Marama, Borno State, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, SB 639, first reading.
Federal Polytechnic, Marama, Borno State, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, SB 639, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, the third business of the day is presentation of the bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Sam Egu on the Federal College of Education Technical, Abakaleke, Ebonyi State, Establishment Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal College of Education Technical, Abakaleke, Ebonyi State, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, SB 641, first reading.
Federal College of Education Technical, Abakaliki, Ebonyi Street, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018, SB 641, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on the Establishment and Public Service Matters on the Chartered Polymer Institute of Nigeria Establishment ETC in 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Emmanuel Polka, Chairman of the committee, to move a motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Polka.
Mr. President, dear colleagues, the Polka Emmanuel is my name. I hereby move that the Senate will receive the report of the Committee on Establishment and Public Service on the Chartered Polymer Institute of Nigeria, etc. Bill 2018 SB 396. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Anduba.
Mr. President, most distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Anduba, representing Anambra South Senatorial Zone. Mr. President, I rise to move to second that the Senate will receive the report of the Committee on Establishment and Public Service on the Chartered Polymer Institute of Nigeria. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Establishment and Public Service on the Chartered Polymer Institute of Nigeria Establishment, etc. Bill 2018 SB 396. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Polka, come and lay the report, please. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters on Pension Reform Act P4, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Amendment Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Emmanuel Polka, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Polka.
Mr. President, dear colleagues, I'll painfully inform the Senate that this particular report is not readily available today. I plead that the Senate do give about 2 to 3 days for the committee to make it up and possibly present this report by next week. I plead, Mr. President.
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, in view of the explanation offered by distinguished Senator Polka, I move that we turn down this matter to another legislative day. I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, may I second the motion that we stand down this particular item for another day. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that we do stand down this item to another legislative day, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, the first order of the day is a motion standing in the name of distinguished Senator Bala Ibn Allah on the need to exercise constitutional powers of the National Assembly to ratify treaties in Nigeria. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Bala Ibn Allah to move the motion.
Yes, Leader. Senator Bala Allah.
Mr. President, having invited me as Senator Bala Ibn Allah, I do represent myself as Senator Bala Ibn Allah representing Kebbi South Senatorial District of Kebbi State. Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, while the Senate knows that Section 12 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended provides that no treaty between the federal government and any country shall have the force of law except to the extent to which any such treaty has been enacted into law by the National Assembly, knows that out of the 250 United Nations treaties, conventions, charters, and protocols alone, which Nigeria is a party to, over 50 have not been ratified, while many others require cessation, signature, acceptance, or ratification. Amazed that there seems to be no comprehensive and accurate data on the exact number of treaties entered into by Nigeria since independence, as according to some records, only 61 have been ratified out of about 300, and yet for treaty management in Nigeria, which raises the urgent need to call the attention of all stakeholders to discharge their responsibilities to rectify the anomaly. Further notes with deep concern, as further observed by the said roundtable, that the reluctance bordering on persistent refusal by MDAs to comply with the decision of the Federal Executive Council contained in a circular issued by the head of service of the Federation, reference number head of service SF/LU/FEC/M 38 dated the 2nd day of March 2017 to forward all treaties, international agreements to the Federal Ministry of Justice for disposition, worried that a huge number of treaties have not been submitted to the National Assembly for domestication due to reliance on provision of Section 3.2 of the Treaty Making Procedure Act Cap T20 Laws of the Federation 2004, which classify treaties that require ratification by the National Assembly and those that do not. Establish that the said provision of the Treaty Making Procedure Act is inconsistent with the provision of Section 12 of the Constitution, which categorically subject all treaties without classification and ratification by the National Assembly. Cognizance of the fact that in the 5th Assembly, only 11 treaties were enacted into law by the National Assembly out of over 1,000 bills considered by the Assembly, while only 61 executive bills out of the 619 bills considered by the 7th Senate, with none on treaties still in the 8th Senate. Only 3 executive bills so far have been presented for ratification and treaty. Regrets that the good reputation and image of Nigeria may continue to be low in the eyes of international community, and the country may suffer multidimensional loss if the National Assembly is denied its powers of ratifying treaties to acquire the force of law for municipal application in Nigeria. Accordingly, the Senate do here resolves to direct the Federal Ministry of Justice to produce a comprehensive record of all treaties that were entered into by Nigeria that were ratified by the National Assembly and those that are yet to be presented for ratification by the Executive, and many others that require different forms of action by relevant institutions of government responsible for treaty management in Nigeria. B. Direct the Ministry of Justice and Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs to establish a comprehensive database on status and management of treaties in Nigeria. 3. Urge the Executive to submit all bills on all outstanding treaties that require ratification by the National Assembly. And 4. Mandate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters and Foreign Affairs to liaise with the relevant ministries affected by the result of to facilitate collation of the documents and report to the Senate therewith. Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, the reason for this very important motion is that in our collective decision to practice democracy as a form of governance and to put us in a situation where we can put ourselves in the list of civilized nations bordering on good governance and constitutionality, it is only important that this Senate acts and makes sure that whatever commitment this country makes with the outside world is adequately taken care of by the National Assembly for the purpose of making sure that we give our own part of the bargain as far as international commitments are concerned. It is in line with this that I urge my colleagues to support this motion so that we can have this comprehensive list and then within the shortest possible time work upon the list to be able to put it in accordance with what is required of us under the Constitution. I therefore urge my colleagues to second this motion, and in particular I will request that my distinguished friend and brother, distinguished Senator James Manager, second this motion with your permission, sir.
Senator James Manager.
My respected, well, I want to take for granted that my colleague, the Deputy Senate leader, has spoken sense into this particular motion, and I have no reason to go against this motion. It's a good motion. I support it from A to Z, and it's a very straightforward motion, not contentious at all. And I support it, and I want to urge my colleagues to also support it. And I want to, before I sit down, I want to say I second the motion. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity.
Distinguished colleagues, let's go straight to the prayers. 1. Direct the Federal Ministry of Justice to produce a comprehensive record of all treaties that were entered into by Nigeria, those that were ratified by the National Assembly, those that are yet to be presented for ratification by the executive, and many others that require different forms of action by relevant institutions or government responsible for treaty management in Nigeria. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, direct the Federal Ministry of Justice and the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs to establish a comprehensive database on status and management of treaties in Nigeria. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, urge the executive to submit all bills on all outstanding treaties that require ratification by the National Assembly. Those in favor of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And prayer 4, mandate committees of judiciary, human rights and legal matters and foreign affairs to liaise with the relevant ministries affected by the resolution to facilitate collation of the documents and report to Senate within 4 weeks. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator Nala, for that motion. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is a motion standing in the name of distinguished Senator Fatima Raji Rasaki on the need for sustainable tourism policy in Nigeria. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Fatima Raji Rasaki to move the motion.
Senator Raji Rasaki.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues, for the opportunity given to me to move this motion on the need for sustainable tourism policy in Nigeria. My name is Senator Fatima Rasaki. I'm representing the Central. The Senate notes that according to the 2008 UN recommendations on tourism statistics, tourism is a social, cultural, and an economic phenomenon which entails the movement of people to countries or places outside their usual environment for leisure, business, religion, health, and for other purposes. The Senate notes further that sustainable tourism, on the other hand, entails the adoption of policies and programs that take into account the expectation of tourists and the desire of the communities affected by tourism projects to entrench environmentally friendly practices that minimize carbon dioxide emissions associated with operation of transport and other tourism facilities, as well as ensure efficient use and conservation of energy, water, biodiversity, cultural heritage, traditional values, and generally promote intercultural understanding with a view to generate local income and facilitating integration of local communities. The Senate are aware of the importance and potential contribution of tourism to Nigeria's quest for economic diversification and creation of employment opportunities to the teeming youth population, and the recognition of tourism by the United Nations as one of the 10 sectors capable of making significant contributions to sustainable development because of its close linkages to other sectors of the economy. The Senate notes further that over the last decades, tourism has emerged as one of the largest economic sectors, accounting for 9% of the world's GDP and over 200 million jobs, with businesses volumes of tourism reported to equal or even surpass that of oil exports, food products, or automobiles. Tourism offers millions of direct and indirect entry points into the workforce, particularly for youth and women, and ensure diversity of investment opportunities for young entrepreneurial talents. The Senate observed that Nigeria is here to formulate and adopt policies that would develop the tourism sector in a sustainable manner and leverage on the sector as a wealth creator, major source of foreign exchange and most viable economic development strategy with positive impact on poverty alleviation. The Senate is convinced that it has become absolutely necessary for the Senate to intervene in a manner that will ensure that tourism is given priority in our development agenda because of its global recognized potential in contributing to the growth of local economies. Therefore, accordingly resolves to mandate the Senate Committee on Information and Culture to consider summoning the Minister of Information and Culture to brief the committee on the performance of the culture and tourism sector and the effort being made to reposition the sector as a major foreign exchange earner and to report back within 2 weeks. 2. Call on the federal government to adopt a comprehensive sustainable tourism policy with a view to showcase the tourism as an important tool for economic diversification, conservation of natural resources, and creation of employment. 3. Call on the federal government to consider the margin, I repeat, to consider the margin, culture and tourism from the Federal Ministry of Information to ensure effective implementation of a sustainable tourism policy that will ensure the optimum realization of the recognized potential of the tourism sector to our economy, and call on the Nigerian Immigration Service and the Federal Ministry of Health to intensify surveillance and monitoring of tourist traffic to forestall cross-border crimes and epidemics at Nigerian international borders. I so move.
Senator Mao Huabona.
Mr. President, distinguished Senator, Senator Mao Huabona North. Mr. President, I stand boldly and proudly to support this very important bill. And actually, this bill wouldn't have come at a better time than now when we are talking about the diversification of our... This motion, sorry, I would have loved that it would have been a bill, really. Maybe that was the psych I had that made me talk about bill, because it would have been a bill, but bill that is a motion. So I support this all-important motion, especially in this time that we are talking about diversification of our economy. And we know that Nigeria is well endowed in area of our diversification of our culture and tourism. But unfortunately, we've not been able to harness these potentials that are enormous in this country in terms of tourism. We have so many tourist centers in this country, but unfortunately, we've not been able to develop them. There are so many caves. You have the Arochukwu, Lonjuju cave, and so many other caves, the Ile-Ife and all that. But as I speak, they've not been able to develop them to attract tourism. Go to places like Gambia, they've developed their beach waterfront and make them beautiful beach that people go every summer or holidays to enjoy themselves. But unfortunately, maybe because of the advent of oil, and we've allowed these tourism or tourist centers to remain undeveloped. So, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, I want to support and second this motion that we look at the prayers and approve them. I support, Mr. President. Thank you.
Senator Benga Shafa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, Senator Benga Shafa from Lagos East Senatorial District. I rise to join my brother, Senator Mao, in supporting this motion and to add a few words. As we all know, tourism is a major source of economic diversification. And in most African countries now, they have sort of lagged in on what is happening in Dubai to improve on their tourism potentials by portraying the culture, heritage of their countries. People are spending millions of dollars to travel from Europe to some of the African countries. Nigeria happens to be one of the best tourism centers, but what has happened to us? We have failed to toe the line of my big brother here, Senator Ben Bruce, who has invested heavily into tourism through entertainment. People like him should be supported. We have so many caves, like Senator Mao mentioned. We have so many falls situated in places like Kwara, Ikogosi, Inekiti. Sometimes if you even look deeper, there are some certain areas in where I come from in Lagos that should be tourist centers because of the culture and the work of the people in that area. I come from a place that is principally, that depends principally on the fishery. When you get to that place, we can monitor it in such a manner as to add and enhance the type of trade that they are doing there that will be likened to what happens in Agungu, and festivals can be held. It is not all the time that we have to dress ourselves up like what the Brazilians do. We can look at the traditional ways of doing things here. We have stopped celebrating Agungu Festival. Agungu Festival should be an international tourism factor as I speak with you. If we look back at what was happening before and what we are doing now, we slow down on enhancing the beauty and the potentials of our tourism sector. I want to support this motion and to call on my colleagues to ensure that all the prayers herein laid are passed without too much wasting too much time. Thank you.
Senator Jibril.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Barrow Jibril. I represent Kano North. Mr. President, let me first of all commend the mover of this motion for bringing this motion to the floor of this Senate. Mr. President, we know that there's a current clamor that we need to diversify our economy. Because it's through that we're able to have a robust and sound economy. And to have a robust and sound economy, a good component of this, right, is to have, we all agree, is to have a robust and up and doing tourism sector. It is very, very important to our objective of having a robust economy. And I believe, as so many other senators in this chamber, that the major problem we have in getting together, putting together a sound economy, a sound tourism sector in this country, is lack of workable tourism policy. Probably we have one, but it's not working. Therefore, there's a need to relook at this policy, overhaul this policy, add to it, or rework it entirely so that we'll be able to achieve our objective of having a robust tourism sector. Mr. President, this motion, I don't want to go into specific. I don't want to go in because when we talk about policy, we mean the entire policy has to be looked and worked so that we have a workable policy. There's a suggestion by this motion that we need to demerge the tourism, the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism. We need to take away the tourism and culture component from it. And I agree with that. Because when we do that and set up a different ministry to handle tourism as is done in other climes globally, I think that will allow for emphasis to be put in developing our tourism sector. It will allow us to really focus in making sure that we achieve what we want to achieve in terms of having a robust and up and doing tourism sector in this country. This motion is so direct, very, very clear, And I support it, as I said earlier, and I urge my colleagues, everyone here, to support this motion, because to do that is to show the patriotism in us, is to show that we are really concerned about turning around the economy of this country so that we can have a robust and up-and-coming economy. I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Joki.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Lema Adoke. I rise to support this motion, which, in my view, just like Senator Mao observed, that it could have even come as a bill, given the importance of tourism in the development of this country. The tourism industry is usually classified into ecotourism and culture tourism. And Nigeria is blessed in both senses, because we have some of the most beautiful landmarks in this country, although of recent they have been undermined by so much insurgency activities. But nonetheless, we have some of the best forests in Nigeria, some of the best mountains, ranges, some of the best landmarks that people would want to come and visit. Of recent, I traveled to Bauchi, to Yankari Game Reserve, and I was pleasantly surprised at the amount of investment that have gone on there. And people are flying in there silently, so much so that the international community loves the place, and they are even trying to build a helipad where they can overfly some of the insurgent activities of our country. And that is people who value tourism as a major economic industry. I particularly like to support the mover of this motion by the fact that the demerger of the culture and tourism sector from information sector is very important, because our tourism continues to be a lip service industry. But with a ministry dedicated to it, I believe more attention will be given to developing a tourism policy. And so I do agree with her that we need to demerge those two ministries, so that we can actually focus, because we know that oil is expiring. And given what we have, both historical kingdoms that we have in this country that people would like to visit, and the topography that we have, we need a full-time attention on how to develop tourism, because it requires heavy investment, and giving it a passing notice will not help us. I therefore urge my colleagues to support distinguished Senator Raji Rasachi in moving this motion, and that we should eventually develop it into a bill where a full-fledged law on tourism can be enacted. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, I think everybody has contributed. Unless somebody who feels very strongly wants to speak on this matter. Okay, Senator Ben Bruce.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ben Bruce, representing Bielsa East. The issue of culture and tourism is not the location where tourists visit. The issue is not knowing what tourists should do and the benefits to the economy. Nigeria has a problem with tourism, and we need to identify it. When I was a concert promoter in the 80s, I brought many foreigners to Nigeria, but here was one problem that we had, and we need to address the issues one by one. One, to get a visa to Nigeria is a very difficult process, to the point where our embassies now hire consultants. So if you want a visa to Nigeria, you need to go through a consultant, and that consultant charges you a fee higher than what the federal government charges for you to come to Nigeria. That is problem one. When you get to Nigeria, the biggest problem I had when I was a promoter was the camera. Nigerians are not used to you taking their pictures. On one day, I brought a group to Nigeria. They were nominated for a Grammy Award. In Yaba, the police arrested them. They were arrested for taking a picture, and they were put behind the counter. When I went there to release them, I asked the policemen what were the charges against this group. They said they took a picture of a strategic part of Nigeria, and therefore they were going to arrest them.
So I asked the group, I said, what picture did you take? They said they saw a girl with a basket on her head with oranges, and they took a picture because she walked straight. In America, they would have to go to finishing school for a white woman to walk straight. In Africa, a black woman walked straight, and it was amazing. And they were arrested for taking a picture. And so when I remember all of this, we started having armed guards protecting foreigners coming to Nigeria. Now, if you go to London, you don't have a policeman protecting you. If you go to New York, a policeman does not protect you. But if you come to Nigeria and you need an armed guard to protect you, certainly you cannot say you're tourist friendly. That is a problem. The second problem, in 1986, I was in a car with Miss America in Maryland. We sat in the car. The policeman stopped us. He stopped us because he wanted some money. I was so embarrassed. I did not want to give the policeman 20 naira in front of Miss America. So I kept chatting with the policeman, and she kept looking at me. And I kept chatting, and she kept looking. It took me 20 minutes to get out of that spot. Now, if foreigners come here and a law enforcement officer collects money from you, you look ridiculous. And so the biggest problem to promoting tourism in Nigeria is for the National Orientation Agency, one, to explain that taking a picture is not a crime. Two, law enforcement officials cannot collect money from people just by passing on the streets. If we solve those two problems, we've made some progress towards promoting tourism in Nigeria. It is not the location. And three, when I went to the east to look at Ojuku's bunker and the paraphernalia, all the things we used to fight the Civil War, and the state of disrepair, you have to understand that we do not protect our tourist sites. And as long as we do not protect our tourist sites, I don't know the last time anybody went to a museum in Nigeria. Anybody went to a museum to see artifacts. And as long as we ourselves do not look at tourist sites at places we want to go to, it becomes very, very difficult to sell it. Having said that, Senator Raji Razaki was right. The Minister of Culture and Tourism should be united as one ministry. The Minister of Information has a big role to play in promoting cultural sites and tourist sites in Nigeria. And more important, the federal government should take a very active position to promote tourism in Nigeria, and it should be a private sector function supported by the federal government. If we do, it is worth billions of dollars, and I think this motion should be supported. Thank you very much.
Let me go to the prayers. Prayer 1, mandate the Senate Committee on Information and Culture to consider summoning the Minister of Information and Culture to brief the committee on the performance of the culture and tourism sectors and efforts being made to reposition the sector as a major foreign exchange earner and report back within 2 weeks. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, call on the federal government to adopt a comprehensive sustainable tourism policy with a view to showcasing tourism as an important tool for economic diversification, conservation of natural resources, and creation of employment. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, call on the federal government to consider merging culture and tourism from the Federal Ministry of Aviation to ensure effective implementation of a sustainable tourism policy that will ensure the optimum realization of the recognized potentials of the tourism sector to our economy. Those in favor of prayer 3 say aye. Yeah, amendment, Senator Samigo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Sam Ewu, I represent Ebonyi North, Senatorial District. Mr. President, there is nowhere in the country on the boundaries or airports of any country where quarantine service is not very, very important. In fact, you won't be allowed to come in with any food, any crop, animal, or their products to the country. So I think for this to be comprehensive, we should add that we call on the Nigerian Immigration Service, the Ministry of Health and Agriculture. That's where quarantine comes in.
This we're on prayer 2. We're on prayer 3. We have not got to that one. No. Now, can I put the question? Those in favor of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4. Call on Nigeria Immigration Service and the Federal Ministry of Health to intensify surveillance and monitoring of tourist traffic to forestall cross-border crimes and epidemics at the Nigeria international borders. Yes. So your amendment, Senator Samegu.
My amendment will read, call on the Nigerian Immigration Service, Federal Ministry of Health and Agriculture to intensify surveillance and monitoring of the tourist traffic to forestall cross-border crimes and epidemics at Nigerian international borders.
Any seconder? Distinguished colleagues, prayer 4 then. Those in favor of prayer 4 as is, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, the third order of the day is a motion standing in the name of distinguished Senator Suleiman Hunkuyi on the urgent need for declaration of emergency on the public health sector over the decaying infrastructure. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Suleiman Hunkuyi to move the motion.
Senator Suleiman Hunkuyi.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I rise to move the motion for an urgent need for the declaration of a state of emergency in the public health sector over the deplorable, poor, sorry state of the decay of infrastructure under that area. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate notes with alarm the decay of infrastructure in public healthcare institutions in the country occasioned by epileptic power and inadequate water supply, resulting in unhygienic conditions, which further increases the risks of hospitals' acquired transmitted related infections. Further notes that critical diagnostic equipment such as MRI, CT scan, ultrasound, and other related medical equipment essential for providing efficient diagnosis are either non-functional or dysfunctional or are completely lacking. These are life-saving equipment in diagnosis. The absence of medicaments and drugs which are inadequate and in most cases unavailable to dispense to the patients who throng these facilities in search of the last-minute treatment for their various conditions and ailments. Concerned that this situation has compounded the dearth of ability to attract the required caliber of health professionals and skilled manpower in our public health institutions, with doctors and other health care professionals living for greener pastures daily to private medical facilities or even completely abroad outside the country. Further concerned that the sorry situation in our public health institutions has resulted in increased medical tourism by Nigerians, with the attendant outflow of hard-earned foreign currency that is rather even unavailable. These run into billions of dollars, spent on medical care annually in Europe, America, Asia, and even some of the African countries, to the detriment of our own health institutions. Regret that this sorry state of affairs has rendered our hospitals and other healthcare facilities ineffective, resulting in dire consequences for the entire citizenry. Regret that this sorry state of affairs recently precipitated the report by UNICEF in its latest statistics on child mortality, ranking Nigeria second highest in the world, with losses of about 2,300 children under 5 years old and 145 women of childbearing age on a daily basis. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the intent of this motion, as I have said, is to clamor for the necessary attention and support the public health sectors require within our own polity today. Certain questions stand unanswered, Mr. President. Is this state of these hospitals the best we can afford as a government? Can't we afford better condition of some of the facilities that are now made available in these health institutions? Are we not encouraging the unfortunate medical tourism that has now become prevalent, mostly, particularly, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, on particularly the higher echelon of the society who thrown out of the country for one reason or the other? Are we really, by doing what we are doing, encouraging the development of medical experts within the Nigerian soil? If we take, Mr. President, a model, one hospital, a health institution around the country, and I take one, the one I know most, better, closer to me, the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital. Simply put, that is the hospital that attracts the greatest number of human traffic within the Northwest Zone, within a catchment population of over 40 million people. The deplorable condition of that hospital, the equipment, Your Excellency, my distinguished colleagues, cannot be overemphasized. The situation is not any much different in most health facilities of that caliber around the country. Mr. President, I have two prayers which I will put before. Urge the executive to declare a state of emergency in the public health sector in the country. Prayer number two, urge the executive to provide special funding for the overhaul of at least one government-owned medical facility in each of the 6 geopolitical zones annually for a period of time. I so move, Mr. President.
Yes, Senator Aliu Sabi.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Dr. Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, Niger North. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to commend the mover of this motion, my big brother, distinguished Senator Hunkuyi, for this timely intervention. Indeed, the state of our health sector generally is worrisome, and the situation is one that calls for a very concise strategy so that we can tackle headlong the key problems in the sector. Now, it's very clear that over the years, we talk about medical tourism, and Nigerians have witnessed a lot of capital flight out of the country in the name of medical treatment in different countries. And one would have expected that there will be a robust response to the policy imperative given earlier in the year by Mr. President to the effect that we should make effort to reduce medical tourism. And you will see that there is more or less like a direct correlation between the level of people wanting to go out to seek for medical attention and the level of decay in our medical facilities. And I think there is no rocket science on this subject matter. We have a lot of Nigerians doing very well outside. The question we need to ask is why they are not coming back home to serve. And I think if we can provide a solution to this, we'll be able to attract them to come back. One of the prayers is apt in trying to look at this. But I think what I would want to urge the executive to do, the Minister of Health needs to look at the fact that what is the statistics in terms of the areas people go out to seek for medical attention. And I think if we can take that statistics, disaggregate it into various disease areas, definitely we can superimpose this on the present capacity in the country across the tertiary institutions dealing with our health condition, like the teaching hospitals. And I think it is not going to be out of place if in acceding to this issue of providing special funding to upgrade at least one very important government-owned hospital in each of the geopolitical zones, tied to a specific area of competency, so that we don't dissipate thinly on the ground our hard resources. Because if we don't do this, then we'll continue to run into the same problem. Today, what you see is when people are referred to all these hospitals, there is a serious problem. But I think before we get there, it is important we look at the issue of primary health. And I think the primary health deficit is what we see in terms of the level of chronic illness our citizens are suffering from. Something that can be dealt with the right equipment and with the right personnel in place ends up becoming a debilitating sickness, ends up becoming a chronic illness, and our citizens are made to bear the brunt. So I think we have discussed something around our health care sector severally here, and this is another attempt to bring the same subject matter to the front burner. So, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to say that perhaps we should find a way to impress it upon the executive that we need a more holistic approach in tackling these particular issues. Earlier, I remember we had a debate about our medical students lacking where to go for, their internship. These are part of the problems. And I think if we can look at all of these things together, we will be providing a very robust solution to it. With these few comments, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I urge my colleagues to support this motion, and so that we can have a more robust healthcare sector for our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished colleagues. I think we'll just go to prayers. This issue, those who have contributed, also the mover of the motion. I think one of the major areas that also has to do with our own responsibility in the Senate is that we know there is a new health law that has not been properly operational because we ourselves have not ensured that the adequate funding of the primary health care in line with the law. And I think that is even the fundamental place where we should start from. And I hope that this year when we do the 2018 budget and some of the contributions will take note. Let's go to the prayer. I urge the executive to declare a state of emergency in the public health sector in the country. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. I put the question again. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2. Urge the executive to provide special funding for the overhaul of at least one government-owned medical facility in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country every year. Yes, amendment, Senator Otazi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Chukwuka Otazi. I represent the good people of Enugu North and Enugu District of Enugu State. Mr. President, my amendment is urge the executive to provide special funding in the 2018 budget for the overhaul of at least one government-owned medical facility in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. We are doing the budget. Budget is still before us here. We have to be specific because if you just move this way and they just say overhaul any time, they can push it next 2 years. So we want it in 2018 budget that this should be accommodated. I so move.
Any seconder to this amendment? The Senator put the question and those in favor as the prayer as is, say aye. Those against say nay. I'll put the question again. Those in favor of the prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Any additional prayer? Yes, Senator Sabi.
Yes, additional prayer. Urge the National Assembly to ensure compliance with the provision of the National Health Act on funding of primary health care in Nigeria.
Senator Gresham, seconded.
You see, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gresham Basi, Shiva South. I second the motion, the amendment ably moved by Senator Sabi.
Part of the skills here is to read your mind even before you. I'll put the question. Those in favor of the additional prayer ensure that the funding of the National Health Act in 2018. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Yes, I mean. Thank you very much, Senator Ukui. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, the fourth and fifth order of the day are House bills for concurrence as listed on the order paper. Distinguished senators will recall that the bills were read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, the 16th day of January 2018 and 6th day of March 2018 respectively. Mr. President, for the simple nature of the amendment, I will use a single lead debate for this bill. And Mr. President, I wish to proceed with the debate with your permission.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead a debate on the following bills from the House of Representatives for concurrence. Number 1 is the Digital Rights and Freedom Bill 2018, HB 490, and Energy Commission of Nigeria Act Cap E20, Laws of the Federation 2004, Amendment Bill 2018, HB 72 and 612. Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, the Digital Rights and Freedom Bill 2018 was read for the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, the 16th day of January 2017. This bill seeks to protect internet users in Nigeria from infringement on their fundamental freedom and to guarantee application of human rights for users of digital platforms and or digital media. The objective of this bill, among others, are to promote the freedom of expression, assembly and association online, guarantee the fundamental privacy right of citizens, and define the legal framework regarding surveillance. Clearly outline provisions for lawful and authorized interception of communication within the digital environment and online without sacrificing the freedom of citizens on their constitutional rights to communicate freely. Accord data privacy, mobility, and thus safeguarding sensitive citizens' data currently being held by numerous government and private institutions. The Digital Rights and Freedom Bill is intended to guard and guide against today's internet users in terms of freedom, safeguarding their rights and protection against any form of infringement. Other benefits the bill will bring to the fore includes strengthening of the citizens' right to the internet and its free use without undue monitoring, identification of true owners of personal data, which are the owners themselves, and encouragement and stipulation of due process that should be followed before access is granted to governmental agencies and others to personal data of citizens. Provision of clear definition of new digital terms such as protection of personal data and engagement of terms extensively, and provision against hate speech online in Nigeria. The Energy Commission of Nigeria Act E20, Laws of the Federation 2004 Amendment Bill 2018 was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, the 6th day of March 2018. This bill seeks to amend the Energy Commission of Nigeria Act Cap E10, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2014, to strengthen its powers and to enhance the development and promotion of new and renewable energy, energy efficiency and conservation, and to provide for the establishment of renewable energy and energy efficiency fund and other matters relating thereto. This bill makes the Commission the national focal point for renewable energy and energy efficiency and conservation and sustainable energy development at large. Mr. President and my respected colleagues, these bills are not controversial and have been through rigorous scrutiny and public hearing in the House of Representatives. I urge my colleagues to support the second reading of this bill, and I so move. Let me conclude by saying that in the tradition of Parliament, that is bicameral, the issue of concurrence has always been a very straightforward matter, and these two bills having come from the House of Representatives, I urge my colleagues to move in line with the tradition of established parliamentary practice. And I so move, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any comments? If there are no comments, let me put the question. Those in favor that these bills be read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the protection of human rights online, to protect internet users in Nigeria from infringement of their fundamental freedoms, and to guarantee application of human rights for users of digital platforms and or digital media, and for related matters 2018, second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the protection of human rights online, to protect internet users in Nigeria from infringement of their fundamental freedoms, and to guarantee application of human rights for users of digital platforms and or digital media, and for related matters, second reading taken. A bill for an act to amend, you've read that, okay, Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Energy Commission of Nigeria Act Cap E10, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for the establishment of renewable and alternative energy development and utilization fund, grants priority to the promotion and development of renewable and other alternative energy, and for related matters 2018, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Energy Commission of Nigeria Act Cap E10, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for the establishment of renewable and alternative energy development and utilization fund, grant priority to the promotion and development of renewable and other alternative energy, and for related matters 2018, second reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I now move that the Senate do revert to Committee of the Whole to consider the report. I so move.
Which court? That the Senate do resolve it to a committee of the Whole to consider this. So second.
Those in favor of this motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, we have two bills here. The first one, we have 26 clauses. Most of them are not, all of them are retained. So I'll go swiftly through them. Those in favor that clause 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 2, 3, 4, and 5 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 25 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 26 short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The next one has 13 clauses. Same as that, all are retained. So those in favor that clause 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I second that we revert to plenary to the fourth projects.
Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Distinguished colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the Digital Rights and Freedom Bill 2018 and approved as follows. Clause 1 to 25 as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate also in the Committee of the Whole considered the Energy Commission Act Amendment Bill 2018 and approved as follows. Clause 1 to 12 as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Senate Leader.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, may I at this stage move that the two bills be read the third time? I so move, sir.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second that the two bills be read for the fourth time. I so second.
Dear colleagues, those support that these two bills be read the third time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to provide for the protection of human rights online, to protect internet users in Nigeria from infringement of their fundamental freedoms, and to guarantee application of human rights for users of digital platforms and all digital media, and for related matters, 2018, third reading.
Dear colleagues, a bill for an act to provide for the protection of human rights online, to protect internet users in Nigeria from infringement of their fundamental freedom, and to guarantee application of human rights for users of digital platforms and or digital media and for related matters 2018 already taken and passed. Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Energy Commission of Nigeria Act, Cap A10, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2014, to provide for the establishment of Renewable and Alternative Energy Development and Utilization Fund, grant priority to the promotion and development of renewable and other alternative energy, and for related matters 2018, third reading.
Dear colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Energy Commission of Nigeria Act, Cap E10, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for the establishment of renewable and alternative energy development and utilization fund, grant priority to the promotion and development of renewable and other alternative energy, and for related matters 2018, steadily taken and passed. Thank you, distinguished colleagues. Senate Leader.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, the sixth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Housing on the Real Estate Regulation and Development Bill 2018. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Wednesday, the 14th day of February 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Barnabas Gemade to move the motion for the presentation of the report. But I've just been told that distinguished Senator Gemade will not be around to move the motion. I therefore move that we stand down this matter to another legislative day. I so move.
Okay. He's attending a deep conference.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in view of the absence of Senator Gamade, I rise to second that we step down this report for another day.
Very well. Dear colleagues, those in support that this particular item is stood down to another legislative day, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Still Leader.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, let me state that the inability of distinguished Senator Gemade to be here was, he was away yesterday to Macaulay to receive our dear President. And when he came back, he could not have access to the report. That explains his absence today. So the seventh order of the day is presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund on the Federal University Gashua Establishment, ETC Bill 2018. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Wednesday, the 24th day of January 2018, and Mr. President, you may wish to invite Distinguished Senator Barrow, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barrow Jibrin. I represent Kano North. Mr. President, I stand to move that this August Senate do consider the report the Committee on Tertiary Education and Third Fund on the Federal University Gashua. Mr. President, Gashua, establishing ETC Bill 2019 SB 459. Mr. President, I so move.
Yes, you can go ahead, but looking at the mood, I just hope you'll be able to summarize it. So we can go into straight to the consideration.
Do as the leader, I will give a brief version of the report so that report on a bill for an act to establish the Federal University Gashua and to make comprehensive provisions for the due management and administration and other related matters. Introduction. Mr. President, you may wish to recall that the Senate is sitting on Wednesday, 10 May 2017 to file this very important bill sponsored by Senator Ahmed Ibrahim Lawan to the Committee for Further Legislative Input. The bill, which is seeking to establish the Federal University Gashua, was read the first time on Thursday, 6th April 2017. Mr. President, this university is already existing, and the purpose of the bill is to give the legal backing, necessary legal backing to the university. Committee findings. We wish to note, Mr. President, the university is already, as I said earlier, operational since 2011. The Federal University Gashua bill is divided into 27 sections in 5 parts and contains 3 schedules. Considering the bill, the committee carried out a careful comparison of the provisions with the provision in the acts establishing other universities in the country. All the 27 clauses of the bill, including the long and short titles, the first, second, and third schedules, and the explanatory memorandum are similar. Committees stand on the bill. The committee, while considering the bill, carry out a careful comparison of the provision of the bill with the provision of acts of existing federal university and universities miscellaneous acts. The committee found out that the content and structure of the bill and those of other existing universities are similar. The committee, as well as the participants at the public hearing, agree with the intentions or intendment of the bill. The committee's recommendation. The committee recommends as follows. 1. Section 1 to 27 should be retained as contained in the bill. 2. The long and short title of the bill should be retained. 3. The first, second, and third schedules of the bill should be retained as well. 4. The explanatory memorandum should also be retained. Conclusion. The President of the committee recommends that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria do approve these recommendations accordingly. The committee wishes to express its profound gratitude to Mr. President, to the entire Senate for his usual report. Mr. President, I so submit.
All right, thank you. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleague, may I now move that we revert to the Committee of the Whole. Resolve to the Committee of the Whole to consider the report. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second that we resolve it to the Committee of the Whole for a class-by-class consideration.
Dear colleagues, those in support of the motion that Senate do not resolve Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Well, this is colleagues. Any comment? This is just a straightforward bill and a standard bill on university establishment. So we've done this over and over again. So I guess the provisions are similar. So in the absence of any comment, we'll go straight to the consideration of the reports clause by clause. Dear colleagues, those in support that clause 1 start of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 2. Those in support that clause 2 start of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3 and 4. Those in support that clauses 3 and 4 start of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 5 and 6. Those in support that clauses 5 and 6 start of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 7, 8, and 9. Those in support that clauses 7, 8, and 9 start of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 10 and 11 at page 7. Those in support that clauses 10 and 11 start of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 12, 13, and 14 at page 8. Those in support that clauses 12, 13, and 14 start of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 15, 16, and 17 at page 9. Those in support that the start of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 18 and 19 at page 11. Those in support of clauses 18 and 19 start of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 20, 21, and 22 at page 12. Those in support of clauses 20, 21, and 22 stamp out of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 23, 24, and 25. Those in support of the stamp out of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 26. Those in support of clause 26 stamp out of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 27. Those in support of clause 27 stamp out of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Schedules 1 to 3. Those in support of schedules 1 to 3 stamp out of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum at page 25. Those in support of the explanatory memorandum stamp out of the bill say aye.
Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Short title. Those in support of short title, stamp out of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Long title at page 1. Those in support of long title, stamp out of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Sir Leader.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, may I now move that the Senate will revert to plenary to report progress.
Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I second that we revert to plenary to report progress.
Dear colleagues, those in support of chair now report progress, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund on the Federal University Gashuwa Establishment Bill 2018 and approve as follows. Clause 1 to 26 are recommended, schedules 1 to 3 as recommended, implementing memorandum as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what was by the Committee of the Whole? All right, thank you. Senate Leader.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, having concluded the remaining items,
No, we need to do the third reading.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, may I now move that the bill be read the third time? I so move, sir.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second that the bill be read the third time.
Dear colleagues, those support that the bill be read third time, say aye. Those against saying ayes have it. Thanks, Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to establish the Federal University, Gashuwa, and to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and other related matters, 2018, third reading.
Very distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University, Gashuwa, and to make comprehensive provisions for its management and administration and other related matters, 2018, third reading taken and passed. Again, I want to thank all of you for making this university a possibility, because with this bill passed today into law, it means that the school is ready for our students and for our youths. We believe that we'll continue to encourage them by providing education for them, and the best way to do that for us in the National Assembly is to pass bills establishing the relevant universities and higher institutions so that they have opportunity of receiving not just basic education but also higher education. So once more I want to thank the committee and the rest of us for our contribution in passing this bill. Senate Leader.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, having concluded today's proceeding on the other paper, I hereby move that the Senate do adjourn to Wednesday, the 14th day of March, 2018 at 10 a.m. from I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second that the Senate do stand adjourned to the Wednesday, 13th of this month at 10 a.m. I so second.
Dear colleagues, those support that Senate do not